and it was nice to get a bit of breeze through my trainers as we moved. There was a burst of light inside the Lighthouse before cigarette smoke leaked from the driver's window. Susie leant forward over my shoulder and breathed in deeply. Then I could hear her laughing behind me. I didn't know whether to be pleased she wasn't flapping on the job or to flap myself because she wasn't. I liked people who got scared. The coastline of Penang was low-lying, but as soon as you turned inland you began to climb. The target worked as a waiter in a Dutch restaurant up on the high ground in the centre of the island. I knew we'd be coming up to some light soon, and he should be turning right. But something was wrong. He wasn't moving into the right-hand lane. Instead, he fought his way past the traffic at the junction, waiting to turn inland. Susie was on my shoulder. "What's he doing?" I ignored her and carried on with the take. There was nothing we could do but follow. The traffic stopped and started before the left indicator flashed up ahead and the Lighthouse headed into a world of rusty corrugated iron. I slowed at the junction and followed, just as he hung another left and disappeared. We were on a narrow, rough concrete road flanked by shacks. I took the bike down into the darkness, stopping just short of the turning. There was a glow of static light hanging above a group of tin roofs. Susie jumped off, and I just managed to grab her arm before she ran towards it. "Not here, okay? Not here!" Her helmet came off, and she faded into the darkness. I carried on past, turned to face the junction in shadow, and killed the engine. The ghostly glow of TV sets flickered inside most of the shacks, and I could hear kids playing and dogs barking. There was a strong smell of drains. Vehicle lights soon sparked up along the track out to the junction, and I could hear an engine heading my way. I couldn't see inside the Lighthouse as it turned right towards the main. I hit the ignition but kept my lights off as it stopped at the junction, then tried to fight its way back out and head right. Susie reappeared, running as fast as she could. I rode up to meet her as she waited and shoved her helmet back on. Jumping on the back, she sucked in air as she held on to me. "He was picking up. It's 2 up, of all fucking nights." I could feel her warm breath against my neck as we watched the vehicle disappear. I turned the lights on, and we started to move. "Did you see who it was?" "No. What now?" I shrugged. I never really knew what to do until I was doing it when these fuck-ups happened. We got out onto the main, and this time I gave it some throttle and joined the rest of the mosquitoes weaving in and out. Her arm tightened round my waist, and her legs squeezed tight against mine. She saw the brake light at the same time as I did, pulling at my stomach with her right hand and pointing over my shoulder with her left. I exaggerated my nod as the glare of neon and traffic lights merged in my badly scratched visor. The Lighthouse was nearing the crossroads in the left-hand filter. I passed another car and was now just one vehicle behind, trying to get a better view inside. I pushed up the visor and a rush of cooler air hit the sweat. Neon bathed the 2 bodies in the front seats. The passenger was a man, younger than the target, and Malaysian. The good news was that he also wore a white shirt and was obviously a model employee. When he turned his head to talk to the target, I could see he'd already put on his bow tie. The vehicle's indicators flashed for the left turn, and they left the coast road. The route inland was busy, but not as chaotic as the one we'd just quit, and I could feel the contours almost immediately as we started to make height. After less than a kilometre, the breeze-blocked shacks petered out, and with them the clatter of petrol generators and the yelps of their scabby dogs. As we climbed even higher, there was nothing at the roadside but vegetation. Lights twinkled occasionally behind the greenery, suggesting habitation, but even those soon disappeared. The road narrowed. 2 vehicles could just have squeezed past each other. I let us fall back as we became the only vehicles in sight. I was anticipating a sharp left-hand bend before long, and sure enough his rear lights flared in the darkness, one flickering, as he hit the brakes to negotiate it, then disappeared. Susie's head came over my shoulder, her .45 digging deeper into my back. "We sticking to the plan?" There was nothing for me to do but nod as she sank back behind me. The job must go on. I felt Susie's right arm delve into her bag as her legs squeezed round mine to support her. She was putting on her rubber gloves. The red lights in front of me came and went as the target followed the bends uphill, but I didn't need to be right on top of him for about another kilometre. I knew where he was going. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The coastal plain was way below us now. The road ahead had been carved through rainforest, and our headlight glistened on the solid green stuff that reared up on both sides of us, still wet with rain, as I dodged fallen palm leaves and water-filled potholes. 500 metres further on, we passed our marker, a big stone Buddha on a log, looking down onto a junction with a mud track that went right into the forest. Maybe it was some sort of accident black spot, and Buddha was there to bring good luck. Susie tapped my arm with a hand in a red rubber glove and pointed to make sure I'd seen it. Then I felt her left hand go completely round my waist and her right push into the bag wedged between us. A few seconds later, the barrel of the revolver ran up my back. We were nearly at the ambush point, a narrow, staggered crossroad where the target would have to stop to negotiate a stream that cut across the junction. That was the point we were channeling him to. Why force a target into the killing ground when you can pick a route he always uses? He would have to slow almost to a standstill as he forded the water. We were less than 50 metres from the light ace now. Susie pushed down under my arse with her left hand, the .45 in her right, ready to jump herself off. The red lights flared and flickered as the target braked for the junction. He'd have to turn right, cross the stream, then do an immediate left. I approached the light ace on its right-hand side and could smell cigarettes. As we slowed level with the rear of the vehicle, the bike wobbled. Susie had leapfrogged off the back as I carried on. There was a shout from the cab. I twisted the throttle to get myself forward to block him, but this boy wasn't for stopping. The light ace crashed into my front wheel and I curled up, taking the fall. My right hip hit the tarmac, then skidded along the road with the bike following until we finally came to a halt in the stream. I dragged myself to my feet, yanking the helmet back in time to see the vehicle roll backwards down the hill, headlights blazing skyward. Susie was running after it. I hobbled forwards, trying to get my leg to work. It felt like someone had taken a cheese grater to my thigh. The vehicle kept rolling and the lights arced higher into the sky as Susie dived in through the driver's window. What the fuck was going on? It hit the trees 15 metres further downhill and came to a halt. Susie's legs disappeared inside the driver's window at the same time as the side door slid open and the interior light came on. A figure leapt out and crashed through the foliage as 2 shots were fired. "Which one? Which one?" Susie scrambled out. "He's in the cover!" "Wait! Wait!" I drew level with her and grabbed her arm to stop her jumping into the forest. It was the pickup who was dead, his head twisted and pushed up against the blood-soaked seat. I ripped off my helmet, gulping down oxygen. "Shh! Listen!" It was secondary forest, small bushes and plants growing wherever the sun had penetrated the canopy. This stuff was difficult to move through, especially when it was dark. The target wouldn't be able to see his own hands in front of his face. We heard nothing. We'd have to go in after him. 4 paces in, and I couldn't see her any more. I reached out into the inky blackness and gripped her arm, pulling down until she dropped with me onto the wet leaf litter and mud of the rainforest floor. We crawled a few paces, hands and knees sinking into the mud before stopping and listening. Still nothing. I just started to move again when there was a noise. I stopped. She bumped into me. I held my breath, opened my mouth to block out my own sounds, and let the saliva dribble out of me. He was close, a little to my right. It was barely audible above the engine ticking over, but I could just make out whimpering. I felt behind me very slowly and grabbed her spare hand, passing my helmet to her before feeling my way to her face and pressing my fingers against her lips. She still had her helmet on, which was good. We didn't want to leave either of them here. I turned my right ear towards the sound of a frightened man. He probably didn't know what to do, where to go, whether to hide or run blindly into the forest. I hoped he kept choosing to lie still and think the darkness would save him. I put out my hand in his direction, feeling the invisible ground just below and in front of me, then inched forward. Mud, roots and leaves collected between my fingers before I came into contact with the cool, clammy bark of a tree. I moved very slowly round it. I heard Susie behind me swallowing a mouthful of saliva. He was close now, moving his legs. I heard them scrape across the rotting leaves. My face was getting attacked by whatever flew around here and ate skin. Not that it mattered at the moment. My whole being was focused on finding the target. Even the pain in my leg had gone as I inched a little further. He was so close I could hear him gulp with fear. Then he moved his legs again, and leaves rippled across my hand. There was nothing to do but jump in that direction. My body fell clumsily on him, and he screamed. My nose landed on the side of his face. He curled into a ball, begging and pleading as I got up on my knees. I didn't know the language. I wasn't listening. Susie was up behind me. "Where is he? Where is he?" I got my right knee pushing down on the side of his head. His begging became louder. "Shh! It's okay. It's okay." My right hand went down and fell onto his sweat-soaked face. I kept hold of his head and held out my spare hand into the darkness. "Come to me, quick!" She moved into me and I grabbed her, feeling my way up her arm. My fingers found the revolver and guided it down onto his head. "You've got it. I'll hold him." I felt the muzzle digging into his skin as he sobbed and started to struggle. I wanted to get this over with. "You ready? I'll let go on 3. 1, 2, 3. I released his head and pushed myself backwards, and in the same instant she squeezed the trigger. There was a bright flash, and the sound seemed much louder than I knew it actually was. "Stay still! Stay still! Gotta make sure!" I heard the hammer go back. "Wait! Wait!" I heard her feeling around for what was left of his head. There was another bright flash and loud bang. The smell of cordite hung between us, trapped by the canopy of leaves, and the pain in my leg returned with a vengeance. "So, how the fuck do we get out of here?" Susie sounded almost normal. We were no more than 10 meters or so into the rainforest, but we'd only got where we were by following the sound of the target. Getting out was something else. "Let's just wait. Calm down. See if we can hear the Lytase." I held my breath. Gradually, the ringing of the shots in my ears faded, and I came to hear the gentle ticking of its engine. It was easy enough to home in on. I felt about for my helmet, and we crawled out of the trees, hitting the road only 3 or 4 meters from the vehicle. I could see Susie's blood-splattered face in the headlights. "What the fuck were you doing, playing Spider-Man?" I inspected my leg as she did the same with her hand. "All you had to do was shoot them." By the time I got level, they were already flapping to get out the side door. The wagon was rolling. I didn't know what to do. Then I thought, fuck it, just dive in. She was smiling. I could see a big grin in the red glow of the rear light. "Anyway, it's done, isn't it?" She was right. "We need to get the wagon off the road, and you need to clean up your face. The trees are too dense here to drive through. Take it down to the Buddha Junction, dump it out of sight as best you can, and I'll follow you if the bike's still okay. If not, we're walking back." She got into the Lytase, engaged first gear with blood and mud-covered gloves, got it back onto the road and drove down to the junction. I went over to the grounded bike and hauled it upright. The bike's clutch was twisted down so it faced the tarmac, but it was still in better nick than some of the machines we'd seen around town. The main thing was that it worked. I waited at the top of the Buddha Junction for Susie, and as she came back up the hill and threw her leg over the saddle, she leant forward. "Didn't we do well? I think we deserve to go jet-skiing tomorrow, don't you?" The right side of my leg was raging so badly from the gravel grazes that I had to grit my teeth.